Okay, so Kled items dispatch is kind of all over the shop, but this is what I've somewhat been finding success with. To be honest, at the start of the game, since the Doran's nerf, they nerfed it down to 80 HP, and I believe they took some of the lifesteal off. I've just been running Doran's longsword rather refillables pretty much every game. However, if you like the Doran's blade, you can still go it. Like, I don't think it's too bad to go, but I would definitely recommend running longsword most of your games. Obviously, you can run Doran's shield into ranged top laners, like Teemo, Vayne. That's pretty much it. I wouldn't really even run it into Jace or Urgot. I'd probably just go with the longsword anyway. But you can run it into the ranged top laners. I usually prefer just to run longsword rather and take second wind in my runes, but you know, it's up to you. I don't think it's necessarily bad to go it. But yeah, for first back, you should be trying to get a longsword, which a Tiamat rather, which obviously because you've started longsword is only 850 gold when you're back with, so it's cheaper than your pickaxe, which is pretty good. Also, if you're not building into a Tiamat item, you should try and pick up pickaxe. If you're building into like an item like Ravenous, for example, and you've got the option of getting a Caulfield's Warhammer, I usually pick up the 2 longswords, and then if you have enough to build the Warhammer, just pick up another longsword. That's why I've got 3 longswords here. Because if you're paying 350 gold for the Warhammer, you're getting 10 haste for 350 gold. I'd just rather get the extra 10 AD from a longsword. So just try and stack longswords, I think it's a lot better. Obviously, if your item has the longswords in it, if you're building something that doesn't have that many longswords, obviously you can't. It is what it is. With boots, I usually will just be building tier 1 boots and sit on them. I think the changes they did to plated steel caps made them alright. Like 12% reduced damage from autos and 25 armor now. It's quite a bit better, so I think they're probably your best bet with boots if you are going to upgrade them, you feel you need to upgrade them for whatever reason. These other boots you can go. I think Symbiotic Souls are okay, like they're not the worst. Boots of Swiftness obviously into Ash, into like Nasus is kind of a necessity, but other than that I would never go them. And Merc Treads kind of got gutted with the price, like it's kind of outrageous price to be paying for 20 magic of this, so I only go these if there's like a heavy CC comp, like they've got an Amumu and then more CC as well. It's the only time I'd go it, and if I'm gonna go these boots, I'd stack them with Steric's Gauge, because you get the tenacity from that as well. But if you're not planning on going Steric's for whatever reason, I wouldn't even pick them up. I don't think it's worth unless you're double stacking the tenacity really. But yeah, so mostly just these 2 boots, or just sit on your regular boots if you don't really need the mobility. So for first item, it's kind of all over the shop. I don't think you can really go one item against everyone and just be alright anymore. It's kind of like, I don't know, they're a bit, the Tiamat items are kind of gutted. But you can still find success running them, I think, but it's kind of just, it hurts really. But I think by far the best one, even though it's still pretty bad, is Stride Breaker, just for the utility. Just being able to slow people. I have been going this a fair bit, even against not ranged top laners. If I get a lead for whatever reason, I find this works really well when you have a lead, because usually you have enough damage to kill your laner anyway, and it helps a lot with dealing with ADCs and whatnot later on in the game. So I've been rushing this a fair bit. Cycler Sword is probably your best option if you're going into a lethality build. Since Profane Hydra did get gutted with its active quite a bit, even its passive, like range of its AoE proc got nerfed quite a bit. It's kind of hurts to go it, but you can still go it if you really want to. I don't think it's the worst thing, but there are definitely better options. Ravenous also got hit pretty hard by nerfs, but I think it's okay, but you just have to sort of pick your matchups that you're going to build it into. It's good into any tank, just so that way you can do trades freely, heal up. You can whack the turret while they're hitting on you, and just heal up off the wave afterwards. Kind of ignore them, just get turret chip damage. But yeah, you can't really build it into everything anymore. It's kind of sad. But Black Cleaver, I feel like even though they took 15 AD off it, which hurts quite a bit, this patch just having extra damage on your item, which Black Cleaver obviously doesn't have damage, but it gives you the pen, which essentially gives you more damage. It just kind of works a lot better. And again, it's cheaper than these two Cleaver Tiamat items rather, and Stride Breaker as well. So you'd think it'd be a lot worse, but it's actually, I feel like it's about the same. I don't really feel like it's got a massive power hit this patch, especially considering how long it takes to kill people these days. I have been running Bork quite a bit more often as well. I'm finding just the extra damage on hit just coming in a lot more effective now that like AD on the items is nerfed. Like any bit of extra damage you can get is pretty good. But obviously with Bork, you don't want to be running it into little squishy champs. You want to, like, I always run this against Scion, for example. He has no choice but to stack HP. Like, a lot of the time, Tahm Kench. Anyone that's running, what's that item called? Or Warmogs, or, where is it? Heartsteel, that's the one. Anyone that's going to be running Heartsteel first item, it's pretty good into. Like, that's usually just like Mundo, Tahm Kench, sometimes Cho'Gath, sometimes Shen. Those champs don't really have to build it, but if they do, this item's like really good into that. I also think it's pretty decent as a second item now as well. Like, if you build something like Stride Breaker into it, it's not bad. But it's a pretty good rush item as well. Eclipse got 100 gold added to its price and taken down by 60 AD, so I feel like the value of it's gone, taken quite a hit. But the passive still stayed the exact same. It's really good for survivability if you're like, you feel you need that shield. That's kind of the only time I buy it. It's not really like a consistent, I buy this all the time kind of item anymore. Because it just doesn't have the damage or the kick that something else, like say you bought a Voltaic, would have. Because you're getting like 5 less AD, but then you're getting a proc that does 100 damage, which is comparable damage. The Eclipse is a bit higher, but obviously you get that 18 haste with it, 18 lethality rather, which just makes it hit a lot harder. So it's not really like the overall, this is the better damage item, but it does have that shield, which does block quite a bit in the game. So if you're having problems with staying alive, that's sort of what you want to be running. Obviously, Profane we kind of talked about. It's kind of like meh, I don't know. Like, if you really like it, you can go it, but I don't really think it's that good anymore. It just hurts not really having a Tiamat item, so if you feel you need it to help your farming or whatever, then yeah, you can pick it up. These are some items that are just decent in general. We've sort of gone over most of them, but we'll go over the ones we haven't. So, Edge of Night, obviously, if you're into anything that has like one spell that's like really crucial to block, like a Vayne for example can only proc Edge of Night by E, so Vayne is really good to build this into. Quinn as well, she either might waste it on her E or has to waste it on her Q, so either way, like, you're getting pretty decent value. But just in general, it's pretty good for like when you're bush cheesing and whatnot. You jump on someone's head and they react and use their spells usually. Like mages will just use their CC straight away, not realizing you have a shield because they just got jump scared from you out of the bush. So yeah, it's pretty decent just in general, no matter what build you're building, whether it's lethality or bruiser. Obviously, Cyrilda's Grudge got changed back to be like just a percent pen item and not really anything to do with lethality anymore, which I find I have been using it a fair bit, which seems alright, but I just generally tend to favor Black Cleaver most of the time. Just the fact that it helps my team out as well when I do have team fights. Like, it gives you the option to attack the front line rather than always having to dive the back line. Because you shred the front line and then your ADC shreds them as well. Like if your ADC has LDR, then you're getting like 65% pen. I think 5. My math is mathing. Yeah, that's 35, and I believe it's 30. 5 stacks, yeah, 30. So yeah, 65% pen on whatever front line, which is just kind of massive. So it just gives you that option. If you find you need to, you can't get on the back line for whatever reason. But Cyrilda's Grudge is more selfish, but it's an option. It's not bad. Yoma's is probably your best lethality item just in general. I find it's a really good second item. It really helps with ranged top laners as well, just getting the extra move speed, being able to stay on them. Obviously roaming around the map is a lot easier with it. It doesn't give any haste, but it's good value in stats for price you're paying for it. So you probably want some other item just giving a bit of haste before you pick it up. But yeah, that is what it is. Hullbreaker at first, with the new changes, they lowered it from 65 AD all the way down to 40, and 350 health up to 500. So originally I thought this was like a pretty heavy nerf, but they did increase the passive damage scaling with health, and it does scale with base health as well. So the passive every 5th auto proc actually does a lot more damage, it seems like, from what it used to do. So yeah, it's become a lot better at hitting towers, a lot better at like just fighting people in general, and I've actually been liking it more than old Hullbreaker. But I would only go it if like this is your only health item, or you're gonna have one other health item max. If you have like 3 health items, you're just gonna be dooming yourself to get railed by % max health damage. But I'd usually get this as like a 3rd item pickup if my first 2 didn't have any health on it. Like say I got a I don't know, I went like Voltaic into Eclipse or something. I'd pick that up 3rd. I have been going it occasionally with Stridebreaker, like I'll go Stridebreaker, like Voltaic into Hullbreaker. But what that means is later on when you want to get pen, like ideally like 4th item, you just definitely pick up the Cyrildas rather than the Black Cleaver. That's sort of like interchangeable pen items, these two. And that's like what I sort of use them for. Like I have been trying Cyrilda's 2nd item after Stridebreaker as well, which seems not too bad, getting pen that early. But that's sort of what I use Cyrilda's for. If I picked up some other health item, I'll get Cyrilda's instead of Black Cleaver. But normally it'd just be the Black Cleaver. Obviously Edge of Night we sort of just talked about. Serpent's Fang, kind of self-explanatory, just when they have a lot of shields on their team, you pick it up. Pretty good item just in general. Immortal Shield Bow, since Sterix got its shield nerfed, Immortal Shield Bow more often has a higher shield than what your Sterix will have, even if you have like one other health item, which is quite strange that they've decided to do that. But so Immortal Shield Bow really good into Garen because it doesn't give you any health, and it gives you a big shield. It actually allows you to not get completely one-shot as soon as you dismount. I usually pair that with Barrier when I go into Garen. But yeah, besides that, it's like kind of just a whatever item. You can pick it up if you feel like you're getting executed too much. If they have like a few executes on their team, you don't want to die instantly when you demount. Sundered Sky got nerfed health, nerfed haste, I believe, nerfed AD, nerfed damage on the passive, nerfed healing. Kind of cop just nerfs all around. But it's still decent if you're fed, is kind of the only time I'd get it. And you're kind of like the 1v9 carry on your team, it's kind of the only time I'd get it, and as like a 3rd item usually. Yeah, just like in place of like your Black Cleaver, if you find you don't need the pen, you're just getting a 3rd item, I'd just pick that up. Stops you from dying as often, stops you from getting 2v1'd as easy, just makes things harder for the enemy team in general. Death Stance, although in my last guide I kind of said like never get it, it's kind of troll item, I still sort of agree with that, but I have been experimenting a little bit more with it, and I find against certain champs it can be quite beneficial. Like Garen, for example, as soon as you dismount, he's going to press ult, and most of the time you're just going to die. So like, having that ignore pain passive to stop you from dismounting so quickly can kind of like really help in those sort of situations, because if you dismount, you're just going to die instantly anyway. So really only into Garen I'd build it, but yeah, it's kind of like I'd use it instead of a mortal shield bow, kind of the same thing, but just if you need armor, if they're like a full AD team, I suppose. I find also the armor is a lot more impactful since everyone has quite a bit less damage. But yeah, more just got nerfed to its shielding. I think, yeah, it went down 10 AD. Pretty sure it used to be 70. It's just kind of sad. Kind of sad they hit the shielding that much, but I suppose you're probably still your best MR item, regardless. Sterix I'd only really build into high CC. It's the only time I build it really. I don't really build it for the shield anymore. It's kind of just for the tenacity. The shield's like a byproduct. They kind of nerfed it pretty hard. It's probably the worst shield item in the game now. But yeah, Material Scimitar again, just into CC. If you just have some important CC you need to cleanse, like you're getting Mao's ulted all the time, you're getting Mumu solo ulted all the time, it does happen. Plenty of games I'm just 1v3 the enemy team in the backline, the Mumu's just solo ulting me for some reason. They're the sort of games that I'd get it, where everyone's just spam CCing you on purpose. Umbral Glaive, obviously, if you're into Vayne top, it's pretty good. You can just use the bushes a lot more often, hide in the bushes, just kill her wards when she places them down. In general, it's pretty good price for the stats it gives. So you can go it if you just, I don't know, you want to be a bit more helpful, kill wards, I suppose. I have experimented with Kraken Slayer and Static Shiv, and I feel like they're both okay. I'm still not 100% on when you'd want to go Kraken Slayer. It seems pretty good into squishies. Doesn't actually seem that good into like bruiser type champions. So yeah, I'm not really sure when you'd want to go it. I haven't really done that much testing, but it does seem okay. Doesn't seem like the worst option. Static is kind of like the same thing, except you get better wave clear. It's okay for wave clear as a wave clear option. But yeah, like I don't know how valuable it is. I've tried it a few times and I'm like still a bit iffy about it. So take these two with a grain of salt, but you can try them out if you're interested. But, then obviously we got our Grievous Wounds item, which is Kempunk Chainsword. Mortal Reminder's not really good anymore, but we'll get to that. Your other pen item is Lord Doms. You can get this instead of Cerilda's or Black Cleaver. Me personally, I just prefer the stats, like the haste these give, or the HP Black Cleaver gives over that. But if you prefer it, you can go that. It's perfectly fine. And then these are some of the armor items. In general, you don't really want to be buying armor items at all, like not even at full build. But if you do fall behind, or you're in a matchup that you just can't win, like a Fiora for example, and you're behind early, you can pick up some of these items. Like if you're versus Yone or a Tryndamere and you're just getting pumped for whatever reason, maybe you got ganked a few times, shouldn't really be losing the Tryndamere, but I mean if you are, that's your anti-crit item. Kanik Rook and I'll often go into like high AP. If you're versing an AP champ and they have an AP jungle, that's normally when I'd build it, and I'd just pick up a Negatron Cloak in lane and then build into my first item and just grab this later, like second or third item. That's the main reason why I build this, because it builds out of Negatron Cloak, and all these other ones are troll. Yeah, none of them are pretty good. But yeah, it's pretty good into Tarthus as well, especially because you can just block his ult with the shield. It doesn't give annoying chip damage. Thornmail is another Grievous item. I think it's a lot better since they took a lot of the health off it, so you're not really building that much health. It'd be just quite a bit better into Fiora, which is kind of the main reason why I'd build it, just because Bramble Vest is kind of a necessity into Fiora. It'd be right into like Renekton and Aurelia as well, I suppose. Frozen Heart, kind of the same deal with Randuin's, except on attack speed focused champions. You can't go it against Yi because his ult nullifies the passive, because he can't be slowed or attack speed slowed. which was pretty surprising when I found that out. A little tip there. Um, but yeah, things like Yasuo, Yone, even though they do crit, this is pretty good into them. It just depends on what you got the money for, or feel like buying. If you built too much health and they're building Bork, it's kind of like, yeah, you don't want to build this extra health item. Knight's Vow, obviously, if you fall behind and you have a fed jungle that's playing like a Graves or Kindred or something, it's pretty good to just go, just to put put all your faith in your teammate, really. And obviously these are just mixed resist items if you just need them for whatever reason. If you're playing a lot of team fights, you want the Locket. Sort of a similar deal with Zeke's. I'd only really build them if you're like falling behind, you're not really useful, or for some reason every fight you've just got a bunch of assists and you're not really strong enough to sort of dive in backline by yourself. But yeah, these items here just I don't think are very good on Kled anymore. Infinity Edge is just so expensive, it's just kind of insane. Yeah, it's kind of just a nightmare to build, so I just never build it anymore. Spear of Shojin just got a lot of the attack damage taken off it. It even got a lot of the haste taken off it. I think it's 10 haste left. Could be wrong, not 100. But yeah, it just has 450 health, 45 AD. It's just not a lot of AD and a crap ton of health. I'd rather just build Black Cleaver, really. Like, I'm getting a similar amount of haste. I'm getting 5 less haste, but it gives haste for my ult too, so it's like, I may as well just do that. And then obviously I get pen as well, so I don't see the reason why you'd build this. It's also 100 gold more expensive than Black Cleaver. Mortal Reminder is kind of the exact same stats as Lord Dom's, except you're getting 5% less pen, and it's costing 200 gold more. Obviously you do get the Grievous effect, but I just feel like, yeah, it's not worth. You may as well just get one of these other pen items, and most of the time you get away with no Grievous, rather. These other Grievous items, I meant, not pen item. Most of the time you can get away with not buying Grievous because you have Grievous inbuilt on your queue, and a lot of the time I'll be taking Ignite. So you have 2 different forms of Grievous, but yeah, it's just price just doesn't make sense when every other pen item is 3k, you're paying an extra 200 gold. I just, man. Titanic, they gave it an extra 50 health, took it down by, I think it used to be 68, maybe it was 50. I don't know, but they took a fair bit of AD off it either way. And then at first thought I was like, oh, they're buffing the health, at least the on-hit damage will be quite a bit better. But then they nerfed that by 0.5 as well, so the on-hit doesn't hit as hard, active doesn't hit as hard, damage in general doesn't hit as hard, it has no haste, so it's just like, yeah, it's just not good anymore. I mean, like, I don't know, probably the worst Tiamat item by far, and then next worst would be Profane, I reckon. Ravenous and Stridebreaker I feel like are fairly even. I think Stridebreaker is probably a bit better just because of utility. But they did nerf Ravenous and Profane, so their active damage does the exact same as Stridebreaker now. So it's not even like Stridebreaker is a weaker Tiamat, they're literally the exact same, which I think was pretty strange by Riot to do that. You know, it is what it is. These 3 items I think are pretty good, but I just don't like them. Like, Axiom Arc, I find, like, if you ult in, usually you're either gonna wipe them, you're gonna die, or you're gonna live and be dismount. That's kind of like the 3 options I see. So, like, you're not really gonna get ult reef. I mean, suppose you get your ult back quicker, but by the time you back and then you run to lane, your ult's gonna be up anyway. I don't really see them getting this. Just rather pick up like a Youmu's or something instead of it, or even the Hubris. Not that I go that either, but I believe Hubris is 3,000 gold. I don't know why it's showing up 2950, but anyways, Hubris is pretty good as a first item. It's pretty good even as a second, third item. I think it's not too bad. Like, It's just got decent stats, but I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't know why, but I don't know. I just don't. I'd just rather pick up something like a Voltaic Cyclosword. I feel like the utility's better. Like, it is good if you get that takedown and then you get the extra AD. But the thing is, like, the way I see it is, like, most of the time I'm going to be split pushing. My goal is to kill my opponent. If I kill my opponent, I've won. Like, I don't need stats after I kill them. I need something to help me kill him. So, like, Voltaic is just going to help you kill him with the slow. I think it's a lot better. Like, even Yomu's just going to help you kill him with the speed boost. Like, I suppose the same stats as Yomu's with a bit of extra haste. But I believe it's 10 haste actually as well. I think it's not updated. Could be wrong again, but I think it's 10 haste in the game. But yeah, like, if you liked it before this patch, still run it. They only took 5 haste off it, that's all they did, so it got like a very small nerf compared to everything else. So if you're running it before, still run it, it's pretty good. Probably even better as a first item now, since the other Tiamat's got nerf. Like Profane, for example. An opportunity is just good stats for the price, 2,700, it's really cheap, but yeah, again, I don't know, I just don't like it. I'm most of the time building more bruiserish type of builds. I think that's the main reason why I don't like it. It's sort of like a second item lethality pickup. You can't really run first item because it doesn't have the haste on it, but second item is like ideal. But most of the time my second item is gonna be like, I don't know, Yomu's for the utility, or like Cyclosword after my Stride Breaker, or Hips after my Stride Breaker, or something like that. So I don't build it. But if you're building something like, say, Profane first item or Cyclosword first item, and you want to go like a full lethality build, then yeah, it's pretty good. But I just don't go those sort of builds too often. Like, I don't like just getting one shots. It's not really my playstyle. Hiding in bushes and just waiting to one shot people. Like, I do it. I hide in bushes a fair bit, but I like to be able to like fight it, duke it out in team fights and whatnot. So yeah, I just don't build it that often. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think I've missed any items. Usually not. Oh, GA, I suppose. GA is just good situationally as well. Don't go it too often. You only really go it if you've got a big shutdown, you got the money to afford it, but most of the time you're just going to revive and die anyway, so it's a bit pointless most of the time, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who were have-nots, who were gonna